All right, so as I mentioned, uh, I was, you know, my ex was on my side. She was saying, how could your mom and dad not talk to you? But she didn't know the story, and nobody really knows the story, and they don't understand. It doesn't make sense. And what people do is they do victim blame, and in my case, they don't know it's a complex situation, and they're gonna make assumptions about you if your parents don't talk to you. They're gonna think, oh well, it's probably because he deserves it. I talked to my friend Bill about it. He's like, well, what did you do to deserve it? He wants to, a lot of people have the tendency to want to blame the victim. It's kind of a conservative tendency. And in a lot of cases, the victim is somewhat to blame. And I'm not going to say that I was completely innocent. Obviously I was not an angel, but at the same time, my grandpa even says my parents express dualistic software, and that he says they're stubborn, and he says my mom is very immature and expresses dualistic software, very primitive, impersonal predator-prey software. So basically, my mom, it's because of the shoot-away machine, it messed up my shot, and then my dad tried to fix it, told me to do the wrong thing. He got the shoot-away machine, and then, it just, everything deteriorated from there, and our relationship deteriorated, and then my mom was upset. Why aren't you shooting right? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? You're a shooter. You fucking suck now. Yeah, I did, and it wasn't my fault. I was perfect. I was still automatic. If it wasn't for the fact I was picking the ball off the shoe-away rack, my shot wouldn't have got messed up, and also the fact that my dad then tried to fix it and told me to do the exact wrong thing, and then everything deteriorated, and then my dad's like, oh, you fucking suck, I can't help you anymore, you fucking suck, but I felt like I needed his help. So anyways, that's where the problems happen with my mom and dad, and then my grandpa comes in, oh, Ryan, you just have to accept bad calls. Everything is fine. But the thing was, I needed my dad's help, and my dad was trying to help me. He was getting frustrated. I was frustrated because I'm shooting wrong. He's telling me to do the wrong thing, but I didn't know he's telling me to do the wrong thing. My grandpa's like, well, Ryan. So then my dad's like, oh, I give up. You fucking suck now. But I'm like, Dad, I need your help. And then he's like, yeah, ask me again, I'm going to fuck you up. And then that's when abuse started to happen. I never was abused before. And that's something I like to emphasize, because the reason why I emphasize it is because I don't want to be a victim blame. I want victim blamers. People are going to think, well, you must have had mental problems. And that's what my mom was like. My mom says, it wasn't the shoot-away machine. You just became mentally ill, and that's why your shot got messed up. It wasn't the shoot-away machine. It wasn't just a shoot-away machine. It was a shoot-away machine combined with my dad telling me to do the wrong thing, combined with my grandpa coming in, not helping and making things worse. It was a lot of things, but she wants to say, it wasn't, oh, you don't take responsibility for anything. It wasn't the shoot-away machine. It was because you were mentally ill. And she wants to believe I'm mentally ill. That's why when I discovered the quadrant model, my mom was like, oh my God, oh, you're mentally ill. You have schizophrenia. That's why your shot got messed up, because you became mentally ill. No, the doctor said I don't have a mental illness. I actually discovered the theory of everything. That's something very significant. That's not a mental illness. That's mental health. I'm very mentally healthy. I discovered the biggest theory in history. So, but anyways, that's what happened with my mom and dad. And that's, and that's hard to explain to people. It's hard to explain that, but that's basically what happened. And and if I can go into details, the problem is I can't go into details and explain the details about what happened to my shot, because I don't want to make a sure thing. But I could explain to my dad how good shooters shoot, how if you pick the ball off a rack, it prevents it, how it made my feet go the wrong way, how my dad told me when he tried to fix it to go sideways, but told me to put my right foot to the left, my right toe to the left, and my left toe forward, and that was exact opposite of what I did when I was the best shooter in the country. And you also can't move into shots the correct way when you're picking the ball off a rack, so it's a lot of stuff. But that's where the problems stem from. But my mom wants to, then my grandpa comes and my grandpa's like, well, Ryan, you can't make things happen. Everything's the flow. Everything is energy. You can't make things happen. You have to accept bad calls. If your dad says he doesn't want to shoot with you, you have to accept bad calls. But my dad was trying to shoot with me, but he'd get frustrated. And then he would say, I give up. But I felt like I needed my dad's help. So I'd be like, Dad, help me. That's when the abuse happened. So it's a complicated story. But anyways, how do I explain that to Katie or to my ex? You can't explain that. It's a lot to explain. So, she's saying like, she's basically saying like, that she wanted to meet my parents, but I have to tell her, no, my parents, they don't want to meet anybody, or they don't want to see me. But I can't, but then she's going to automatically make assumptions. People always make assumptions. They're going to think, oh, your parents won't see you? Oh, that must be because you must be bad. You must have mental problems. And that's what my ex even said. She said, even if you did the most terrible things, your parents should still see you. But she doesn't know the more complicated aspects of it. How my grandpa came in and he's like, you know, what Ryan really wants is independence. What Ryan really wants is independence because everything is energy. And if you're independent, then you're in the flow because everyone really just wants to be independent. And my mom and dad were like, oh, he wants independence. Okay, get him out of our lives. And then when I discovered the quadrant model, I wanted their help. But then my grandpa's like, no, Ryan, he didn't discover the quadrant model. What he did was he just wants to be dependent still. And he invented this because he wants to stay dependent, but really what he wants, he doesn't know that he really wants this, but because I believe in Ayn Rand, and because, you know, and because it builds resentment by the people who you're dependent upon, they become resentful, and you are actually resentful of them because really what you want to be is independent. What Ryan really wants is independence. And so the best thing for him to let go of the quadrant model, which I don't realize is the theory of everything, because I don't understand the nature of existence is the quadrant model. The best way to get him to let go of it is if we make Ryan independent. And then so my mom and dad were like, okay, is that what it is? We should make him independent? Okay, get him out of our lives. We're not going to ever talk to him again. We're never going to see him again. Make him independent. But the thing was, I discovered the theory of everything, and they threw me to Kauai. And I needed help. And if they would have just fucking helped me, I could have got back into basketball. When I played basketball, I could always write amazing raps. I could have been huge with everything. Huge with basketball, rap. Then I could have learned from my grandpa more. A lot of good stuff would have happened if they wouldn't have just thrown me to Kauai, thrown me to the side. But my grandpa's like, what Ryan really wants is independence. And even he says that my mom and dad misinterpreted that. He says that my mom and dad interpreted that as, okay, yeah, get him out of our lives. But my grandpa says that's not what he meant. He said that he wanted me to become independent, but he didn't want them to kick me out of their lives. He says that that's predator-prey software. He says that that's immaturity on their part. He tells me that he cast pearls of swine and they misinterpreted him. But regardless, my grandpa didn't help. So how do you explain this to somebody? You know, my ex is like, why won't your parents talk to you? And then I have to explain to her about my grandpa's metapsychiatry, how my parents misinterpreted it, make him independent, and they thought, okay, abandon him. And how I actually discovered the theory of everything, because she doesn't know that I actually discovered the theory of everything, and how I was the best basketball player in the country, and how whenever I play basketball, I can write amazing raps, but my mom and dad ended up getting me injured and throwing me to the side and not helping me. And how do you explain all this? So I just tell her it's a lot to explain, you know. And then I what am I gonna do? And I try to explain to her about the quadrant model. How it is the theory of everything, which it is. And she's not a genius. She doesn't understand it. And since the whole world doesn't believe it, most people only believe what other people believe. So at this point, my ex is like, she's thinking that I might be crazy. And I tell her, my parents thought that I had schizophrenia, but I didn't. The doctor said I didn't, but they still believed it because they didn't understand the quadrant model. And so, and even though my grandpa told them I don't have schizophrenia, my grandpa has a PhD in psychology. So how do you explain all this to your ex? And this is why I hate being abandoned by my family, because it puts me in these situations. I've always, in the back of my mind, I've always thought, like, what if I meet a girl who I love and then she wants to meet my parents, and then I have to explain to her that my parents won't talk to me? All the assumptions that are going to go through her mind, how that's going to fuck shit up. And it's already fucking me up. So, by abandoning your son is really messed up, and it really leads to a lot of problems. It's led to a lot of problems for me. If I would have had their help, I could have got basketball videos. I could have studied. I could have got my swag flow back. I could have done huge stuff, basketball. Right? My grandpa wouldn't have abandoned me. He would have taught me more. I would have understood metapsychiatry faster. A lot of stuff would have happened a lot better probably if my family didn't abandon me and throw me to Kauai. That shit fucked me up. And it still messes me up to this day. So my ex wants to know, why won't your mom and dad talk to you? But she's being cool, and I like her. I'm like, I really like that, because she's like, she tells me, I couldn't imagine if my family abandoned me and wouldn't talk to me and hasn't seen me for any Thanksgiving, or hasn't said happy birthday to you for years, and they basically treat you like they hate you. She was like, she couldn't imagine that. But then what is she going to do though? She's going to start asking questions and start making assumptions. Maybe Ryan is mentally ill. Maybe Ryan did deserve this maltreatment. Maybe, and they see now people, what they do is they will make assumptions. They'll think, oh, maybe he did deserve this maltreatment. And then they'll look for evidence, and then they'll see evidence because you are fucked up from your being abandoned, and you will act a little bit weird. And then they say, see, that's why he was abandoned in the first place. And they blame you even more. And they don't, that's what my mom does. And they don't stop to think, like my mom, they don't stop to think, maybe the bad stuff is happening because he's abandoned and not he was abandoned because he acts like that. Maybe he acts like that because he was abandoned. Not he acts like that and then he was abandoned. You know, it's the opposite of the victim blaming shit. And again, I'm not saying that every victim is innocent. There's a lot of people with fucking personality disorders, but I'm not one of them. I discovered the theory of everything. And if I didn't get abandoned, things could have been a lot easier, a lot better. You know, it messed me up a lot. Now, I'm not going to say I'm an innocent victim. Yes, I was a Marxist and all that stuff, but whatever. I lived and I learned and things are good. But regardless, so my ex wanted to know, you know, why won't your mom and dad talk to you? So, but anyways, then she ended up telling me. She ended up discovering, you know, she invited me over to her place and she told me, Ryan, I'm pregnant. And I was super happy because she had broken up with me. Like I said, she broke up with me, but then she found out she was pregnant and she said, I'm pregnant. And I'm like, is it my baby? And she's like, yes, it's your baby. I was like, well, will you get a DNA test, a genetic test? And then she's like, yes, it's definitely your baby. And I'll get a genetic test. And I was like, okay, well then I'll take care of you. And I'll definitely, I'm very excited. And one of the main reasons why I wanted a baby was because I was hoping that it would get me back in touch with my family. So I remember I got in contact with my mom afterwards and I was like, Mom, my girlfriend is pregnant. You know, I really like her a lot. Can you meet her? And my mom was like, no. You know, she was like, no, we're never going to see you. We're not going to meet you. We're never going to see you. Get that through your head. You have to accept that. And again, you have to just accept that because that was what happened with the shoot away machine. My shot got messed up and then I needed help to fix it. My dad was telling me to do the wrong thing. Then my dad gave up on me and I was like, Dad, I need your help. And my grandpa's like, Ryan, you have to accept things. Your dad doesn't want to help you now. You have to accept it. You have to be in the flow and accept and not make things happen. So my mom still to this day misappropriates my grandpa's teachings and goes, Ryan, you have to accept it. You have to fucking accept it. We're never going to see you. Get it through your head. You have to accept it. So I'm like, but Mom, my girlfriend is pregnant. Can you please let go of your grudge? Can you please let go of your unjustified contempt for me and maybe meet my girlfriend and meet me and let go of your hatred that you're holding on to from the past because my shot got messed up and you're like, oh, what the fuck is wrong with you? What the hell, Ryan? You're falling apart. You can't handle the pressure. I was always the best under pressure. It wasn't me. It was the shoot away machine. It wasn't my fucking fault. So, in this case, my mom is, you know, I'm trying to tell my Mom, can you let go of your grudge? Can we, move on? Let's move on. And that's the ironic thing is people will think like, oh, you're the one who won't move on, Ryan. You're the one who's stuck in the shoot away machine. No, that's the reason why I bring up the shoot away machine is because I'm trying to say I wasn't the problem. That's what they want to believe. And that's why they won't move on. They don't want to give me a chance because they want to believe that there's something wrong with me. But there isn't anything wrong with me. None of them. If it wasn't for the shoot away machine, I would have been a basketball star. I would have been a star. And they would have stayed happy. And everyone would have been happy, joy. But they don't realize I still am a fucking star. I discovered the theory of everything. I'm a star. So that's the thing. That's the thing that's so fucking crazy. So my mom and dad are holding on to a false perception of me, thinking that there was something wrong with me, and that's what happened. And that's why I was abused, because they want to tell them, they know they abused me. And they want to tell themselves, he must have deserved it. He has something wrong with him. And they're not willing to think maybe he didn't deserve it. Maybe it was the shoot away machine. And that's why I bring up the shoot away machine, because I'm trying to, because they won't give me a chance, because they're holding on to a false perception of me, thinking, my mom says, she told me, we don't want to meet you because we don't want to see you because you're mentally ill and you scare us. You're mentally ill. We don't want anything to do with you. I'm not mentally ill. The doctor said that. Oh, you are mentally ill. Oh, well, then why don't you get a job, you fucking loser? And then my mom thinks that she's following my grandpa's teachings. My grandpa says, yeah, be independent, get a job, then you're in the flow. But my grandpa tells me, your mom's super immature. He says she expresses predator-prey software. She's not in the flow. When she says that, when she talks down to you like that, he said that that's not normal. He says your mom has mental issues, and that's true. So my mom thinks that, the ironic thing is my mom thinks she's following my grandpa's teachings. I just want him to be independent. I just want to be independent. That's why I want him out of my life. But my grandpa didn't teach that. My grandpa doesn't think that throwing someone out of your life is the right thing to do, especially your son. So anyways, that's why my mom and dad will talk to me, because they have a false perception of me. They think there was something wrong with me, but there wasn't anything wrong with me. It was a shoot-away machine. If it wasn't for the shoot-away machine, none of this would have happened. I discovered a theory of everything. Everything is good. I'm set. But they don't want to accept that. So I'm asking my mom, can you please meet my girlfriend? She's pregnant. My mom's like, no, you just have to accept that, Ryan. We're never going to see you. The sooner you accept it, the better, because it's never going to happen. So I'm like, I'm really upset about that. And then my ex, she wanted to meet my parents, and I had to tell her, I'm sorry, sweetie, And then my ex thinks it was something wrong with me. She's like, well, Ryan, you just have to let go of the grudges that you hold, and maybe your parents will talk, and just allow your parents back into your life. And I'm like, listen, I'm talking to my ex. Listen, I want to really bad. I would love to see my parents. I was hoping that the baby would help my parents to see me again. But I'm saying, listen, it's not going to happen, not because of me. They're the ones who won't see me. I want to see them. I want to talk to them. If I had a chance to talk to them, they would see that I'm normal, hopefully. But they won't give me a chance. They haven't given me one chance. So, and I'll get to this too, about how her friend Sylvie, people use that shit against you. So I'm like, dude, they haven't given me a chance. I haven't. So she, in her mind, I know she's thinking, well, they must have given you a chance and you probably fucked up. No, they haven't given me a chance, because I'm sure in everyone's mind, they're thinking, well, because she asked me, well, when was the last time you saw them? And I had to tell her, since it's been about 15 years. The last time I saw my parents was like 2013. And really from 2013 to 2009, I only saw them for very, very brief periods, like 20, minute intervals. So, and a lot of people's minds are going to think, well, your parents probably abandoned you, but they probably given you a lot of chances, and you have mental illness, and you're probably crazy, and you probably deserve being abandoned. But I have to let them know, listen, I saw them a few times in college, and I was very good. But I showed them the quadrant model, and they didn't believe it, and they acted like idiots, and they're like, you need to see a doctor, psychiatrist, and they haven't given me a chance. You can extend an olive branch, and you can give someone a chance, and if you want to, even if someone's a little bit off, you can give somebody a chance and let him talk and let him be, and you can give a little grace to somebody. But my parents haven't given me any grace to talk to them and I don't have mental issues. I don't have a personality disorder. If they would extend a little bit of grace, I'm certain they would, and that's what they're scared of. If they would extend a little grace, I'm certain that they would see that I'm a normal person, and they would treat me normal, and things and things would be great. But they haven't given me any grace, any chance, any opportunity to talk to them. So, but my ex probably doesn't understand that. She doesn't understand that they haven't really even seen me for 15 years. She, in most people's minds, are going to blame the victim and think, well, they've probably given you chances, and you're probably just crazy. No, they haven't given me any chance. Because what happened in high school was very traumatic, and the way I see it is, yes, they abused me, and they will never be able to let themselves say, you know what, maybe we fucked up. Maybe the shoot-away machine was a problem. I told him to do the wrong thing with the shot. I was the bad guy. They will never be able to tell themselves that they were the bad guy. They want to tell themselves that I was the bad guy. And I'm not saying I was an angel. But I know that it was mainly the shoot-away machine and their fault with telling me to shoot wrong, and that led to a lot of problems. If it wasn't for that, everything would have been actually wonderful. I would have been a star basketball player. They would have been happy. Everyone would have been happy. So I'll continue.